stages of the game, just not really relevant.
He's getting the shoulder rub from the coach. Probably needs it. Definitely needs to, I would say, a different level of performance this game does Spirit. We'll go load in to picks and bans.
He doesn't want to get banished back to solo queue like he did in spring.
I mean, he came out of the hyperbolic solo queue chamber looking a lot better, so I can't really argue with results.
He's starting summer like he started spring, just playing nothing but Olaf, so works out. But Kennen, yet again, going to be maintaining that 100% ban status.
Ever8 have banned Kennen, Elise, Zac on blue and red side, so given that they're on red, a little bit less exploitable for the side of Afreeca, but it does mean they don't have to be forced to ban both Kennen and Zac, which feel like must bans on red side.
Syndra still going to be the first thing that they take away, really fearing that pick from Septid.
And if they see a first pick Rumble, how worried will they be is kind of the interesting question to ask here, because Helper's most impressive champion is the Rumble, and you're banning stuff that works against Rumble or can lane against Rumble, so it's pretty transparent what Ever8 want to do. Afreeca did ban Rumble against Ever8 in game 1.
Took that off the board. It was the Gragas, Jace, and Rumble that we saw.
Yeah, Jace, a nice flex pick for Ever8, but again, mostly a Septid pick who has looked a star so far in game 1. Game 2 did miss a very consequential shockwave, as we saw right at the tail end of the replay, but otherwise was pretty near flawless in both games, you'd have to say.
Yeah, really great performance from him especially, but Zac, the final ban away here by Ever8. Elise still on the table. That's been one that they've been banning away, so could see that maybe go into the hands of Spirit, or maybe Malrong takes it for himself to play it during that promotion tournament. But Rumble will be the final ban here from the Afreeca Freecs.
So just first pick Lee Sin. It's a big pick for Malrong.
This is true.
With the Rumble banned away. Would have been Rumble first pick if it was available, but Lee Sin is probably the swing champion on the side of Ever8 winners. But will they value taking away the Elise from Spirit over picking up a jungler and maybe bypass both, with both available, Elise and Lee Sin, who have pretty similar profiles in the early game? The priority on Thresh continues to rise. If you're joining us late, the big story is that with the nerfs specifically towards the harass supports, you can no longer chunk out 80 carries, specifically Lulu, Karma, Misfortune, and Zyra. The Doran's Shield doing so much work against those members. A support like Thresh actually just jumps relatively in priority, even if he hasn't been buffed. He has been indirectly buffed with the introduction of Doran's Shield, so that's why we see Thresh really, really high priority.
Yeah, and Elise will get picked up here for Spirit. So, gonna go ahead, pass up the rest of the junglers that were there available for him. The Lee Sin, the Graves, goes for the Elise. Sees that it was banned away in the first 2 games, so maybe a bit of a weak point here for Ever8.
So consider the top lane pool right now. It's a bit shattered, as both the Galio, Zac, and Rumble were taken away, even though Zac's kind of an edge top laner, and I guess worth mentioning Kennen as well. Gragas being blind picked by Afreeca. So where Ever8 will go with their choice will be interesting. Will they just go for Shen and deal with a pretty significant wave play disadvantages? I hear your exclamation, because we're not 100% clear if this will be jungle Olaf, but heavily expected to be jungle Olaf from Malrong.
Yeah, right now, nobody hovering over the Ghost that we could see, so not really getting too many indicators, but if that Shen comes through, we can go ahead and write that one off as a jungle. So there we go. Shen locked in for Helper in the top lane, had perfectly fine performance with that one going into the Fiora in game number 1. And Olaf for Malrong.
Yeah, Olaf out-duels Elise really hard, especially when he gets Ragnarok, because Elise is so frail, doesn't buy a lot of HP items. We'll be going for the AP enchant from the jungle, so there is potential for Olaf to do good things or be preyed upon in the early game. Or is going to return to the Talia in this game 3, as the techno music really starts to amp up in our new champ select music. It's not a remixed Champions theme anymore. Don't know how to feel, Achilles.
It's at least like an alright song, I guess. It's not the same, though.
It's not the same. There's something about there being the same song each time that certainly appealed to me, at least. I know the fans were also unhappy with some of our break music. We'll look into it.
Yeah, we'll forever have the same music for the promotion tournament.
That's true.
That nice guitar.
Also the same overlays in most seasons.
Yeah. But here we go. Second round of bans coming through. Zyra actually going to be banned away here by Ever8, and LeBlanc yet again making a return. So Afreeca Trying to focus out Septed again. Do they ban the Orianna for the second is going to be the question. It's going to be no, they ban away the Kassadin.
Now, that's something that Kuro has been playing a lot of, but seeing Septed jump on it in this scenario would have been a bit different. Kassadin does win lane against Taliyah super hard after level 6, and even something like the Weaver's Wall does nothing against the Kassadin, can interrupt it if she's coming in. So either way, it's a very powerful pick, but a lot of respect being shown to a champion that it really feels like will shape the meta in summer season. There's a lot of talk about Kassadin, a lot of bans in solo queue, but we haven't seen at the highest level in Korea just yet. That does mean that the Orianna is available. Taliyah does shove in the Ori early, so maybe the plan is just Gragas pushes, Taliyah pushes, and Spirit can invade and get things snowballed for the side of Afreeca. As yep, the lane focus helped a lot in the early game, you have to remember, against Ever8 in Game 2, even though they mismanaged the mid game, and about as early game as possible when it comes to pushing lanes for Afreeca Freecs.
Yeah, I mean, they went for two of the hardest hit supports, left over the karma that we just saw Tucson play there in game number 2.
And there's such an obvious game plan, even without the next 3 champions. It doesn't take a rocket science to be like, well, Gragas pushes in Shen, Taliyah pushes in most mid lane matchups, and then Elise walks in and kills Olaf pre-6. That's definitely going to be a big focus point for Afreeca with their draft and pushing lanes to try and boss around Malrang in the early game, prey upon the very young rookie player.
Well, going to be very late ADC picks coming through. Last pick for both of these teams. Caitlyn available. Seems like Jewel wants to move back over to that one like we saw from him in game number 1. Kramer, don't think he's going to go for the Draven again.
As you say, went lane focus, tried the Draven, failed pretty miserably.
Well, he was doing well.
He was farming.
For a period, he was doing well.
Right, and the team comp didn't allow him to do damage in the late game, but that was kind of the full all-in risk. The Twitch would be definitely a possibility here. Twitch with Doran's Shield should be able to survive laning phase, even if it's not the most comfortable. Or will it be a Kramer special? Something like Sivir or Ezreal would certainly fit in there, and it's going to be the Ashe, just going full utility. And, yep, they want to push lane and roam, Achilles. That's the story here from Afreeca Freecs. So much lockdown CC, a pick comp from Afreeca that can basically snowball a game completely out the wazoo in the mid game.
I mean, Kuro going to have to be on point with those Weaver's Walls. Had a couple good ones there in game number 1, but for the most part, they were a bit lacking from what we've come to expect from him during the spring split, where he was really showing up on this champion. So if he can be on point with those, have that massive roam coming through coupled with Spirit on the Elise laning those cocoons, they should be able to lock out Ever8, pick them off one at a time.
And the game plan's a lot more simple from the side of Afreeca. Win lane, win game, team fighting, both those things are optional options for them. It's not the 1-3-1 comp with the Draven and Fiora they were trying to run in game 1, and they just have such clear, obvious advantages, but that's what I love, actually. I love when we have drafts like this where you're like, well, of course they're going to push in and just contest the enemy Elise. Because guess what? Ever8 know that. It's so obvious where their disadvantages lie. So now we get to see the next levels where it's like, well, preying upon Olaf is the obvious play. So do we see vertical jungling to start the game to kind of force there to be a safe side and a weak side for Afreeca Freecs? What kind of strategies come through, or does Ever8 kind of roll over after kind of the mental anguish of being taken down in game 2? There's a lot of interesting, transparent win conditions in the draft, so that makes the early game so interesting.
Yeah, I mean, new players to LCK, new players to competitive there with Malrang as well. Let's see if the mentality can hold up as we go in for the final game of this first match of the day. Let's load up for game number 3. The Afreeca fans definitely here in droves over top of Ever8. Still very new organization here to LCK, so to be expected. The audience filling up now, 7:30 p.m. on a Wednesday.
Looking like the 8 p.m. SKT vs Samsung series is going to be a bit delayed, but hopefully due to an excellent Game 3. It's going to mean a lot of fans are waiting unhappily outside, because remember, you don't get a ticket to both matches anymore. That was the old champion system. Under LCK, you buy a ticket to both matches separately, so a lot of people waiting for the next match, and I'm sure the same story in Twitch chat, but the match at hand has been better than expected. I thought Ever8 would come in weak at the start. They're kind of a weak entrant into the league, given they really toiled against Kongbu Monster and didn't look necessarily convincing in the promotion tournament. But instantly in game one, all those expectations were shattered because they played a very consummate, top-level professional game. And for the majority of the late game, it looked like it could be a 2-0, but Afreeca just inched over the line, and now we get to wonder what happens where Afreeca has some pretty clear win conditions, and we don't really know what Ever8 looks like bouncing off a loss.
Yeah. Seems like we're just going to have a bit of a mirrored start here in the jungle. Spirit's going to be hovering around that top side of the map, as is Malrong starting off over onto the blue buff.
Surprisingly defensive start here, which I think does suit Afreeca Freecs. If you get early information as Ever8, you can, like I say, try and force vertical jungling because you only have certain safe spaces for the enemy jungler to move to. When there's no information and pushing lanes, this should be the invader's advantage to Elise, at least on paper.
For now, go ahead and start things off. We'll see if Malrong wants to come up with any more cheeky pathing. Saw him with that very early visitation down to the bot lane at level 2.
As Olaf, your pathing options that can't be as cheeky because you have to have that blue buff to actually clear with any speed. So started top side. We do see some Olaf players mix it up, but usually it's more relevant on someone like Spirit who mixes it up because he plays so much Olaf that his routes are very well scouted compared to someone who plays 2 to 3 games of Olaf a season.
Spirit definitely the resident when it comes down to Olaf. Walk shot comes through from Kramer. They spot out Malrong, so they just know exactly where this Olaf's going to be. Just keeping tabs on him as early as possible.
Do you reckon that Spirit knew what a bro was before he went to Europe? Obviously, the bro culture there isn't quite America level, but
Probably not.
I don't think that there's very much a Korean analog to bros.
It's a much different style here, I guess, when it comes down to your, guy-to-guy relationships, I suppose. Holding hands is totally fine.
True.
Korea, not thought of as being in any way bizarre. Just showing that you're just the best of friends.
The cultural expectations of Rollup are very interesting. It's a very North American skin idea, you'd say.
You don't hold my hand, Bob. I'm upset by that. But now the junglers are going to be in the tri-brush. 4 on each. Malrong going to have to go ahead and run away from this one. Ghost not yet popped. The heal will be used by Duel. Keeps him alive. But very much winning out the exchanges here. Is the Afreeca Freecs to that bottom side of the map, but now Helper junking away at Marin.
Doesn't have Q cooldown to do enough damage. Couldn't quite pull it through, but you're right. Early trades going surprisingly one-sidedly towards Helper, and he has a Doran's shield. Wait, we didn't count. Oh, there, we're at 10. 10 in the first match.
Yeah, all right.
So far, still could be a Doran's shield coming through later. We saw some corrupting potion into Doran's shield, you remember, yesterday. It's a pretty good item, guys. When in doubt, buy a Doran's shield.
It's really good. If you're not sure what
buy
you want to start with, just get a Doran's shield.
Caitlyn has a Doran's shield. What more do you need to know?
It's like, it's 40 minutes in, I need my 6th item. Doran's shield.
If Caitlyn has a Doran's shield, every 80 carry should be going Doran's shield. She's the one 80 carry you could be like, why don't you just buy a Cull? I don't know, you're Caitlyn, you got 650 range. Well, she's going Doran's shield because it's the best.
But Sven, he refuses.
I mean, he talks a big game. We're waiting for EULCS to start to actually confirm that, Achilles.
We'll see if he holds down to that promise. But now, Invade coming through. Spirit can go ahead and pop the ward over the wall. Malrong able to finish off the Gromp.
The musical chairs there were amusing.
Makes it out safely.
I mean, every camp that Malrong gets with the draft they have and the draft Afreeca has is actually a big win, given that how risky the early pathing will be pre-6 for the Olaf. So far, we haven't seen the coordinated invades to actually take down Olaf, and all these contests by Spirit haven't led to a CS advantage or significant kill pressure, so you're feeling pretty good about the Olaf draft so far.
Yeah. Working out pretty well. Just going to be keeping up in CS at the moment as they keep clearing their way through. But the ganks still haven't really seen those happen due to that clash on the bottom side. Both ended up walking into each other, but still just going to be slow and steady so far here as Septa just keeps farming up. Like this Orianna, trying to keep as close to Kuro as he possibly can. Going to be a little bit until he can really match that wave clear potential, though.
Kramer, so Duel just chilling in the brush. Ella's gone back, so things pretty comfortable in every lane. Looking like about a 6 CS advantage, assuming that Duel can actually pick up all this CS in this minion wave. So nothing really to speak about in bot lane either.
Seems like he can. Kramer's going to go back, has the Bilgewater Cutlass to start things off.
So a lot of Essence Reaver 80 carries yesterday, but no Essence Reaver so far today. Always going to be differing opinions on where the best builds are. And with crit itemization so strong, you know, the buff to Zeal being 100 gold less, the buff to Essence Reaver and Infinity Edge together being 400 gold less overall. I can understand people going towards Essence Reaver, but if I see 2 tanks and no Blade the Ruin King, I'm always surprised.
I mean, we know that Frey very much favors the Essence Reaver, has throughout the duration of Spring Split.
But not on Ashe yesterday, for example. He's actually been staunchly sticking to Blade the Ruin King, so he innovated it, but now it's suddenly being used against him. Doesn't know how to feel.
Yeah, he can feel pretty good. Because he got the win, so.
He did. The 2-0 win over KT.
Yep. Oh dear.
I mean, they started so well and then it fell apart last season, so maybe the reverse will work this time.
Could be. Meanwhile, that sentence comes through and on the Tucson, just trying to lay a bit of hurt down onto that Karma.
There's only has one way to go because of the trap being down. He juked forward. Who got the blue buff? Oh, it's Gragas.
Okay. Well, nice little takeaway there by Marin. All wrong. Feels bad.
It's the first time that this pushing advantage actually led to an objective, though. Then blue buff's only a small one.
So actually, later on this week, on Saturday, we will have Afreeca versus KT, and suddenly, it's a very questionable game as far as who's going to come out on top.
Yeah, especially if Afreeca lose this series, it's going to be 2 teams with a lot to prove. Even if they win, it's going to be KT just, you'd hope, firing on all cylinders. Otherwise, a lot of what we thought we knew about the season, you know, I think everyone at the start of the year was like, yep, Samsung, KT, SKT to Worlds. None of that's been inked yet. We haven't seen SKT yet, but come on, they're going to Worlds, let's be real.
I mean, you think back to, you know, Spring Split, everyone calling and saying, you know what, BDD's not being used on Longzhu, let him go to KT, replace Pawn. Oh, they didn't do that, and now BDD is just excelling.
At some point, we're just being cruel with the Pawn substitute out what-ifs, though. You know, during last season, definitely like, oh, come on, Pawn's doing fine. But now at this point, you're like, what about Kuzan on KT?
KT probably, unless Smeb's going to play it, they just need a ban Fizz, so you can't lock it in.
Well, maybe those fortunes will change.
More exchanges in the bottom side of the map. Tucson and Ella yet again being chunked out.
Let's not decide seasons on one match. Glass half full Pawn thought.
There you go.
You gotta be careful saying that sentence.
Maybe with your accent.
That's true.
I don't have too many issues with it.
Look at you. So good at talking.
Oh, yeah. I would hope so. Gotta be at least adequate at it.
At least adequate. Achilles 2017. I'd be willing to rubber stamp that one. Pop a seal of approval.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
Well, Marin's being a huge jerk.
Yeah.
Doing a Papa Smithy, if you will.
As expected. I mean, goodbye. Why are you even trying this helper?
Maybe he's just happy getting experience.
I guess.
Really? That was actually probably a bad idea, given that now he can't interrupt the Shen ultimate.
Oh, he's got body slam.
Sure, but he probably has to flash.
It's less reliable, yeah.
I don't know about ulting in that scenario, but it did successfully make him a huge alpha male. They don't have Brolov skin this time, so they have to go with the skills.
And even then, just the taunt missing into the body slam, just beating the crap out of Helper.
If Helper gets solo killed here, I'm probably going to lose my mind.
Yeah.
He's recalling Achilles.
He's going to try.
Oh, they used to Q on the minion wave.
All right.
Missed opportunity. See you, nerd.
Marin's perfectly happy with it this time around. Good lord.
I mean, he's 22 CS up in standing lanes, which feels pretty good.
Yeah. That's a decent buy here for Helper, though. Has that Spectre's Cow with the Tiamat now. So wave clear is going to be decent, and Marin's just going to go ham. He's gonna
hey, if he's going to let me bop me, you know, I'm going to bop him hard.
It's going to be the hook coming through here. They lock down Tucson. Big burst of damage comes through, and Septon finds the first blood. Weaver's Wall thrown down. Ella locked up by the Enchanted Crystalline Arrow. Spirit goes in, trying to find the kill, but the State United comes through from Helper, keeping him alive. Flash over the wall. The Shockwave connects onto both. The axe comes through. They slow him up. Septon will not go down. They get rid of Spirit. 2 kills on the board for Ever8 as Kuro desperately tries to throw out the threaded volley, but Helper is there to body block.
Yeah, both kills claimed by the side of the Afreeca Freecs. Karma on a bit of a walk, taken out first.
Oh, now the taunt going through,
later.
trying to lock down Kuro. Has the flash away, but now both Summoner spells burned out by the Talia.
You had to cleanse and flash. Really awkward stuff there from Kuro. Suddenly, even an axe is going to be enough CC. Taking down Ghost and Flash, my apologies. We'll see the replay here. There was this vision battle, but you would think that Tucson had earlier information. Hook registers from Ella, and they just deleted Tucson. Tucson saw him coming, and yet still offered himself up for a hook.
I like Spirit just waiting in the brush, saying, well, I don't want anything to do with this. Comes down on the wrong side of the wall, has to flash away, and a massive shockwave from Septon, already lining things up for his team, helping him to get out to an early lead. Ever8, only 400 up, but still, it's going to be a nice start getting those kills in, onto the Orianna, onto the Olaf.
Yeah, Marin just continued to extend the CS lead, and crucially, Helper didn't even pick up an assist when he came in with the Stand United. In this lane, though, we see Alex get picked. So far, a lot of damage onto him. He's backing away.
He's going low, going to flash over the wall, in over to the Krugs. TP comes through from Marin, gets the cask in onto Septon, knocks him away, comes up with a kill. Nicely done by him. That's going to open up a lot of pressure in onto this mid turn as Kuro starts chipping away. But ball wrong in the vicinity. Be able to clear out these minions with the axe throw, the undertow.
Yeah, super clean stuff from Marin. Extra burst on the Sheen, helping out to secure the kill even more. Now they have a lot of control over bot side. We knew this was the potential with the pushing lanes and the Elise invading. But having the mid laner go down means they should have pretty much full control over red side Ever8 winners jungle.
Yeah. So even though Kuro doesn't have that Weaver's Wall to, to offer up to get down to the bottom lane, still have to kite back away from the turret, showing respect for his duel and Ella. Still very worried about that potential CC chain that we can see come through with the arrow into the tether or the cocoon.
That's why you see
any given order.
That's why you see Ella just dancing around maximum experience range and being ready to throw out a dark passage at any point. It's the respectful way to play the lane.
It's been a really good performance from Ella, you do have to say.
I was always a big fan of Ella, the benefit of Cassian when he made his debut in China on Snake. Ella and Crystal, the famous Kalista and Draven lanes that Crystal liked to run. And Ella was kind of an unsung hero on that team, but never played professionally at the highest level in Korea before he went over, so didn't have much of a reputation. Beast, his duo or Korean partner on that team, no longer in the competitive scene from what I know, but Ella, coming back over to Korea, getting promoted up, and has been around his sin a lot, has so much experience that it has to be invaluable because definitely has played the most competitive high-level games on the Ever8 team by far.
Yeah. Good stuff, man. Wasn't the most impactful during the promotion tournament, played nothing but the Lulu and Zyra and a couple of those juggernaut.
And he was a peel support in China. Jana was probably his biggest pick back in the spring season when I was there. And, obviously played through metas and has other tricks to his bow, but if you put a hyper carry next to him, he's very consistent on his results.
Yeah, and Thresh has been very good from him. The Tom Kench especially there in game number 1, very much on point. But for now, just going to be a very tight-knit game, despite the kill lead here for Ever8 gold, even across the board. As they start stretching very slight leads in the bottom and the top lanes.
Yeah, being behind in gold because of that last kill going over, even with a completed Iceborne Gauntlet for Marin, he's just looking to continue to be a split push threat. Doesn't matter the champion or the build, he's always looking to take down some solo turrets.
Yeah, can already move up the minions very quickly, so now having that extra turret threat makes him a big concern there for the side of Ever8. Ash Arrow comes through, finds duel first and foremost. Dark Passage is down, but the damage is just too much. Beautifully chained CC from Afreeca Freecs comes with a kill.
Yeah, the layering was the real thing to call out there. No chance for duel to flash, could only heal in that scenario. Look to try and get first brick in the bot lane. That's why Marang is positioned here. I don't think you can really contest Kramer too hard. But for now, Afreeca had largely positioned up towards the Drake, and thus it means that, at least for the next couple of moments, the turret will live.
Yeah. So another pick comes through. Holds up duel a little bit there. Gives Kramer even more breathing room. 21 CS up now. You see on that Ash. So in a very nice spot. Helper still chunking away at Marin where he can.
Damage to minions down, but you pull the sword through a champion. You still do trade damage as Shen.
Oh, they walk away from this turret for a second. Afreeca Freecs are still nearby, so first brick will be coming through for them. Let's give them a nice little burst of gold. 1.5 thousand now in the lead at 16 minutes.
That's why I said only a moment. Realistically, you can't have the Olaf wave clearing from multiple minion waves. You'll lose too much across the jungle and positioning in top lane, so do lose that bot lane turret at 16 minutes. Septid's going for one of the rarely spoke about Orianna ganks top.
Yeah, on for the roam up, comes around through the tri-brush barn, very far forward. Septid flashing in, pulls the ball back to himself. Nice cast will knock him over to the other side of the Weaver's wall as they try to dive in here. Oper tanking up the turret, Balrog able to pick up the kill, but can he make it out alive? Shield comes through from the Orianna, keeping him relatively healthy as Kuro keeps firing away with the threaded volley. There's down quite a bit of damage. Shockwave comes through, Kuro down to half HP, and Spirit waiting in the wings. They collapse forward for this one. Spirit roaming in. Flash obviously used here by Septid. Stand United comes through. Pops the distance down onto himself. Help for dashing forward. Flashes in for the taunt. Locks down Kuro. Can they find the kill? Dissident's not going to connect, but one more hit will do it. There it is. Helper finds it. Nice forward play there. Off the backside of the Stand United comes up with yet another kill.
I'm really impressed with how well Ever8 played. Once again, you call out Septid because his sideways moves and his understanding with first rate. Ella flashes the Ash Arrow.
Yeah, takes himself to the other side, drags the Dark Passage in here for Duel. Throws out Death Sentence, won't quite find the connection, and Marin has joined in the fray with that TP. Throws out the barrel, won't find anything, and the box comes down, trying to slow up Kramer to keep themselves alive, but the wraparound is coming through from Tucson, from
Someone
Marin.
probably has to die here.
Tether gets broken, Duel flashes away from the Q, barrel not going to connect, and he honestly might make it out of here alive. Ella can't say the same. Will get taken down as Kramer finds that soul kill contribution, but the cast comes through. They knock Balrog in. He takes too much damage. Now it's a double kill over for the Ash.
Oh, some really awkward stuff there for Ever8. They were trying to juggle and have only one person go down, but I feel like Malrung and Ella had a bit of a miscommunication. Ella had already accepted his fate in many ways. He was always going to go down, but then Malrung overextended to try and spare some blushes and died. Awkwardly, level 11 Olaf passing over significant experience as well. Good evacuation from Ever8, still gets paid.
Now Septid getting jumped on, there's the Shockwave down. Rip Spirit and Kuro both down very low, but the Cocoon connects. He dashes forward, kills him with the execute. Septid falls, so now 5-4. Cloud Drake over into the hands of Afreeca. Growing that gold lead steadily, now up to about 2,000.
Takes a lot of wind out of the sails from the smart sidesteps and cool play we saw in the top lane. Can't sidestep all the Cocoons. Does mean that Septid falls down. Marin still having a pretty happy time trading in top lane, although not one-sided by any stretch of the imagination. Afreeca have their first decent gold lead of the game. Seeing Duel have to walk so defensively into bot lane because they have just no control over their red side jungle. You can see double control ward has been sticking for quite a long time, and while there are two control wards of Ever8s in this jungle, they are about as defensively positioned as possible. So they have to show respect to Afreeca's potential invades.
Yep, Duel just going to be stuck down there, clearing out waves where he can. Kuro trying to recall, gets it off just in time.
The last half second.
Yep. So can't quite finish it off. Just the Righteous Glory used there for a second. I thought maybe it was the Ghost popped out there by Malrung, but holds on to the Summoner spell. But in the meantime, with all that attention drawn down into that mid lane, top is exposed. And Kramer and Tucson with a rotation up here. Go ahead, burn that out. So now 2 turrets to 0. It is Afreeca Freecs. So despite that very strong start for Ever8, Afreeca starting to spin it back on its head.
And if you ask them to choose between a 5,000 gold lead and multiple outer turrets down, Afreeca would actually choose the turrets down just because they have a comp that is so good at picking people who are overextended looking for farm. Weaver's Wall, Ash Arrow, movement speed from the Karma, and even the teleport from the Gragas. This is exactly where their comp is strongest, at 2 items and with outer turrets down. And we saw how respectful Duel was playing, picking up minions at his inner turret and bot lane. Even taking things like the red buff that we see on your screen becomes more and more risky now that Afreeca have this significant lead.
See how they keep rolling with this. They had a significant lead there in game number 2, and things started going sideways for them. So we know that they are susceptible to, slip-ups and handing away these minor victories that they've gotten for themselves. Let's see how consistent they can be moving forward from this point, because now it's 21 minutes in, Baron has spawned, so the implications of messing up are just greater and greater.
Right, we'll just want to return to largely defensive play and farming up Septid in particular.
Pushing very aggressively your Spirit.
They've got so much backup, whether it's the Gragas, which teleport's not up, that's right. It could actually be a 5v4.
Malron going in on a Spirit, chunks him down to half HP. Ella's there, could drop it over to the Baron, but comes straight back in, down onto the Olaf, and he gets taken out as Ella finds the killing blow. Weaver's Wall used, but not really going to do much here to help out the side of Afreeca. We're dashing forward, locking down Marin, definitely losing out on these exchanges at this point. So trying to trade back as best as he can as Marin just pushing back in down to this bottom lane.
Yeah, pre-Spirit Visage, you can see Shen's actually doing pretty damn well if he's able to pull his blade through.
That's really close. Marin goes back in for the body slam, not going to find anything. Meanwhile, Duel very far forward to the top lane. It's going to be Stand United coming through, but there's no way for that channel to get off. There's just so much damage here from Tucson and Kramer. And now the volley coming through Ella, knowing that he's going to be dead. He'll get taken out, another double kill over to the Ashe. And just really questionable positioning from the bottom lane of Ever8.
And the critical part is they're getting the picks we talked about, but they're getting them just in the 2v2. They didn't even need to call in Talia or the Gragas teleport, which is of higher value given they're playing against a Shen who has the double globals. So for them to just pick up the kills in 2v2 is a pretty significant problem for Ever8. The Ashe arrow was enough. It looks like the QSS only now going to be completed. Wait for the replay. Duel thought he could go for one more minion wave. The classic AD carry story. When Ruler made his debut in Korea, we saw this sort of play from him, and we see it from Duel. At the highest level, if it feels like it's just one more wave, you've probably made a mistake.
He probably was going to be dead anyway, but didn't take the Dark Passage that entire time with the Stand United on top of him, so probably would have allowed at least for Helper to join in the frame, maybe answer back a kill and help keep Ella alive, but oddly played by Duel, oddly positioned by him at the start of that, and they get punished yet again. I mean, Kramer, 2 double kills, 4-0-1 now. Having a very scary Ashe.
I didn't track the interaction, but small little tip for players out there is that if you full zoom in, even if someone looks to be body blocking the Dark Passage, if you full zoom, you can always click it. So
oh, Coral, Shockwave comes through.
It's a different interaction, but it's always possible. Barring being CC'd, of course.
Septed not feeling quite as bloodthirsty. I say that actually now flashes in, gets the solo kill with the seismic shove. Delivers him straight into the cocoon. Spirit's there to pick up the pieces.
That's a big win for Ever8, though. It ended up being a 1v3 because Karma was the first to react in mid lane, and obviously we saw Spirit clear up the kill. But they get the top turret, but awkwardly, still the balance is with Afreeca. They're looking for more.
Yeah, I mean, tier 2 turret here in this bottom lane going down. So much pressure being applied by this Karma Ashe duo. Kramer is so far ahead. There's really nobody that can stand up to him at the moment other than, Helper.
It's something they've had 2 games in a row. In game 2, it was very much about Rumble being significantly ahead and playing around that. This time, it's the duo lane. So multiple people standing up for Afreeca over the course of game 2 and 3.
Well, maybe trying to bait this out for the Ashe arrow. Knows that he has a QSS and Ella backing him up, but Kramer's not going to bite. Tucson went back to base, so just looking to clear out the waves where he can, keep the mid lane safe.
The QSS is probably a more significant factor than we've outlined. You look on a simple level, of course, QSS against Ashe makes sense, but when you have a Thresh on your team who's already basically going to spend most of the game shadowing the Ashe for the W, and you're behind in gold, they're behind 4,000 gold, remember that's 1,400 gold, or sorry, 1,250 gold spent on a QSS as well, so the damage timings from the Caitlyn are going to be significantly far behind. It's 3-item Ashe versus 1.5 on the side of Ever8, and that means they can't 5v5, which is what their comp is built to do because, Duel's just doing no damage.
Yeah.
So if you have an insurance support and you're going QSS from behind, it's usually a bridge too far at the competitive level because it's so exploitable. Just force fights because you're not worried about Caitlyn doing relevant damage for another 10 to 15 minutes.
Oh, couldn't quite find Kuro there. Up over the wall with the Orianna ball, but still don't find a connection. Meantime, Spirit pushing forward, looking for that red buff. Be able to take this one away as Helper is the only one in the vicinity, and there's going to be the wraparound coming through from Marin, but now Malrung pinching down. Spirit flashes over the wall and
Kramer's a monster.
But here comes Kramer, firing away, just slowing everybody up. Even Helper is going on the dodge field just to try to survive. So walking his way out, looks like they will be able to limp their way through this, but the red buff will be taken by Afreeca Freecs in the end. They're sending multiple members of Ever8 back to the base.
Yeah, Kramer alone can basically zone multiple tanks. He was happy to just arrow a Shen almost point blank because he trusts his damage. Nice arrow.
Yeah, connection in on Decepted, and even though nobody really that close to him has to show respect, uses the cleanse to keep himself safe. Now Marin coming through, doesn't quite get the connection he wanted on that explosive cast, knocks Duel back closer to his own base. Still just disrupting where he can. Spirit going low. What goes up must come down. Nowhere to go. He gets taken out. Septed finds the kill. Meantime, Stand United being used here onto L as they push forward. Helper going forward. Gets a taunt in onto Marin, dropping down that dodge shield, slowing him up as best as they can to try to get the kill, but he's still just so tanky on the Grog as he's able to walk his way out of there with the help of his flash.
So 1-0 where the game was poised is still pretty damn good for the side of Ever8. Another game in a row where Spirit has made an unforced error. There's no real other way to call it. Feels like you're a tennis umpire because he didn't need to be going for enemy walls when they were winning in basically every other way.
They also force out the TP there from Marin, so advantage will be in the hands of Helper. In the split push games, he works his way towards that tier 1 turret in the bottom side of the map.
Let's see what Caitlyn comes back with. And the edge is cheaper.
Okay, well he's got that. And just going to find himself a control ward as well.
Still going to be behind in the damage game. Don't mince words there, but very important item to be hit. And that's the thing you have to remember is they went 1-0 with him sitting on 2,000 gold, the Caitlyn. So just winning any sort of skirmish when there's such a mismatch in terms of where the gold is, and unspent gold is basically an implied lead for the enemy team. Still a good sign for Ever8, but a lot of work to be done.
Yeah. Getting that Infernal Drake that's going to be spawning would be a very good step for them.
But this game should be Afreeca's in terms of what happens next. They should be able to plonk 2 control wards down, face check the Ashe arrow, and pick up kills. So they should have the run of the play, and if they don't, it tells you a lot about their vision game, because vision supremacy when you have an Ashe who is just wildly strong, when you have other pick options, should exist for Afreeca. They should not be trading objectives with Ever8 winners.
Yeah, I mean, Kramer's got his own QSS now, so even locking him down is going to be very difficult. So the death sentence not going to be as effective. It's really going to be down to Septed to just, 100-0 as best as possible. Ashero comes through, does connect it on Decepted. Seismic shoves there. Can't even finish the shockwave in time. He gets taken out, and now the map is basically Afreeca Freecs. Do they just want to go straight for the Baron? Because they can.
I mean, double attack speed items into Blade of the Ruin King is a very fast Baron. Ashe arrows down, but got exactly the target that he was looking for. Prey-esque on the Ashe arrow. Great stuff there from Kramer. But so far, Afreeca doing nothing with the pick unless...
All wrong.
Gonna be difficult.
Slow up here. Yeah, it looks like he's just going to chip away.
But they see Olaf fighting, so that's why they turn on to Baron.
Is there any way that Walrun could get himself into that pit for the steal? Be damn impressive, but the Weaver's Wall comes down, and this Baron is just getting shredded by Kramer. Just firing away, and you can see they're just going to go ahead and see this one over. So Afreeca Freecs go ahead. They pick this one up for themselves, now looking at nearly a 6,000 gold lead here in game number 3.
Yeah, small interaction we didn't talk about, but because you don't bring Flash, Olaf can very heavily be gatekeeped away from contesting a Baron, and Afreeca definitely want that after the heroics from the steals in Game 2. So they get the objective they set up for, and we talked about it. They have the pick power. They should decide what happens. Kramer hit an Ashe arrow, and everything else fell into place for Afreeca Freecs, and now they find themselves pretty comfortably ahead. But we've said that basically at some point in all 3 of our games, and only one of them has Afreeca won.
Infernal Drake, definitely something that Ever8 is going to have to try to contest here. If they can pick that up, getting that extra 8%, especially onto somebody like Septed, be very massive for them in team fights moving forward. But if it goes over to the hands of Afreeca, that 5-1, that 5-0-1 Ashe is going to be doing that much more damage.
5-0-1 and up 40 CS at 320 at 30 minutes. Kramer has no cares in the world. Might actually just go for Mercurial and the Moamau Mortius and basically say, all right, Orianna, what you got? Famous last words.
Yeah. I mean, he's got a 3.6 thousand over top of Duel right now.
Marang has to use his ultimate just before Drake spawns.
Definitely not a good sign here. Marin still up in the top side of the map. We'll have that TP very shortly. 15 more seconds on that, so we'll be able to join into the fight. should one break out around that Infernal Drake. But right now, I mean, Afreeca Freecs just have complete control over this lower half of the jungle.
Well, when you have your Ashe basically walking into 600 range of an Orianna at the inner turret one-on-one and not having a care in the world, lets you know that Afreeca feel really strong at this point.
Well, screw it, just get a Death Stance at this point. Get
Yeah.
that frontline Ashe.
Yeah! You don't have to convince me, Achilles. I'm ready for the Death Stance meta. I, for one, salute it. Death Stance overlords.
Haven't really seen it other than Graves in the jungle, beginning of Spring Split.
Unless
End
you
of
count
summer.
yesterday, of course, in the frontline Jace play.
That's true.
From Ixu, just pounding people and healing up for massive damage.
That's true. Somehow that one slipped my mind.
It's buffed the bronze Jace, because you can just stay in hammer form in team fights and you're fine. You're full health.
Well, tier 2 turrets going down across the board here for Ever8.
This
and
is
top
what
getting taken out.
this is what it looks like when you have push advantage in every lane and you lose the mid.
Well, they're going to do a lot of investment here on Damar and try to take him out. Explosive cast comes down, not quite going to find anything, but is able to body slam through the wall. Neptune heal does clip onto him, but the hook comes back through yet again from Ella. Flay now in onto Spirit. 2 kills picked up, but they're losing quite a lot more than that now into the bottom side of the map. TP's coming through. Will it get finished? Yes, it does right in the last second, but it doesn't matter. Septon has already been taken out by Kramer. His 6th kill of the game. Maybe looking for his 7th one. Not going to find it as Tucson takes it away, but they will go ahead and pick up that inhibitor at the bottom side of the map. And Afreeca Freecs, how long do they want to stick around, honestly? Because Jewel does no damage. And there's 40 seconds left on Decepted. Allround comes back out here. Kramer getting that massive shield push through from Tucson. They're in onto the Nexus turrets. Redemption coming down here from Ever8.
Hook onto Kramer.
Jewel here, yeah. He does get healed up, and now they go back in onto Kramer. Can they finish him off? They do, right at the last second before both Jewel and Ella go down. They keep themselves alive for the moment, and Kramer finally gets shut down. Allround pushing forward, biting off a bit more than he can chew, because Kuro still offers up quite a bit of damage here. Looks like he will be able to make it out safely as he wraps his way behind the minions, making sure the threaded volley can't find him, but inhibitor down. Kramer finally killed, but things still looking pretty abysmal for Ever8.
While it looked like comical levels of aggression overstaying in the 3v3 when obvious respawns going to come in soon for Ever8, it took a miracle hook onto Kramer to actually allow Ever8 to halt off losing at minimum 1 Nexus turret. Kramer will come back with another litany of items. He is only the more Malmortius completion short of 6 items at 33 minutes, and you know, Spirit decided to have a front row seat to Marin dying in top lane, even gave over some gold himself, but the real action was happening in the bottom lane. They break the base, and, well, they want to kill Septon.
Yeah, Weaver's Wall coming through, Septon on its lonesome, throws out the Shockwave. The repel is there from Spirit to dodge that one out. Ball wrong. Knocked into the wall, body slam comes through, they try to lock him up. Does have the Ragnarok available still, might have to use it, there it is. So it does come through, and the Dark Passage tossed out to really make sure they can drag him out to safety. But this is just going to be that final outer turret going down here. Favor the Afreeca Freecs, 7-1 in that regard as they get ready to stretch towards 10,000 gold in the lead.
Kramer alone in mid lane again. Respawn comes in strong, looking for some backup CC, but not finding any. Afreeca looking to kill the game. It will feel like they stole away a series if they're to win this one, and seems very unlikely for the result to go any other way than the Afreeca Freecs.
Yeah. Pushing in, looking for that second inhibitor. The inhib turret just going to go ahead and get melted out. Hook comes through on Marin, but it's just not enough. Even with the explosive cask whiffing,
Party cast.
there's still not enough of an opening here for Ever8 to try to capitalize on really anything. It's 1 minute and 20 seconds left onto that second Baron spawning up, and they have super creeps in the bottom side of the map, so their attention is going to be pulled as far away as humanly possible.
And they'll just go for the backs. Breathing room for Ever8, but breathing room with really nothing behind the curtains. There's no light at the end of the tunnel, you'd have to think, for Ever8 winners. Their 80 carry being 4,000 gold, with 3,500 gold behind, and going early at defensive itemization meant they really couldn't fight. Afreeca have continued to make mistakes. They've made just so many mistakes over the course of 3 games, but you pick up the victory, there's no asterisk next to it, says on this day, Afreeca won 2-1. In a year's time, you won't remember the particularities of this game, and Ever8 were hoping to kind of shatter the notion of being the 10th place team in the league. They looked like on paper, let's be real. They did that in game 1, but the next 2 games look to be going the way of Afreeca as they want to ice it here.
Yeah, Marin says hello, gets that nice cask into the walls, locking up Jewel, and Ella goes low. Redemption being thrown down. Can they finish him off in time? Ashero clips Duel in the backside, even though he gets healed up, has the cleanse, still goes down. Kills picked up for Kramer and Kuro, now firing away in onto Helper, dashes away with the Shadow Dance, but still going to be just be handing over a double kill for Kuro. 11,000 gold up now as Afreeca, both inhibs down in the mid and bottom side of the map. They're just going to be going for the finish here. Just not a whole lot that Malrong and Septed can do.
Yeah, Marin can tank up the turret for days just as the minion wave comes in, and against all expectation, Afreeca Freecs going to do it.
Yep, they go ahead, knock those down, get straight in onto the Nexus, looking for a last little kill there on Decepted. Won't quite find it, but they will find that Nexus. 36 minutes on the clock, much faster than our first two in the series. Malrong somehow able to kill Kuro right at the end there, but he's going to pay for this one with his own life. The ace completed. Afreeca close out the set 2-1.
Does mean they will go into that match on Saturday against KT Rolster in a better ladder position, but this is the sort of game where the coach is like, guys, you won, great job. Also, I have 8 pages of notes to go over and 14 different VOD timestamps over 3 games. It was a messy one for the Afreeca Freecs. Spirit in particular having a poor series and then some.
Yeah.
Marin had good games. Kramer was majestic on the Ashe in the last game. And credit Tucson as well, doing his job. But Ever8 winners, you know, it is definitely heartbreaking to see them not come away with anything from this game. That's what happens in best of 3s. There's no 1-1s. It would have been the honorable 1-1 back in the old Champions format. This time it's no points and some things to work on, specifically around the man on your screen, Helper, who Game 2 was almost completely decided with how far behind he fell to Marin's Rumble. And he didn't really inspire confidence on his Shen in Game 3.
Yeah. Well, Ever8 still strong performance there in games 1 and 2. Bit tragic not able to close out that 2-0 despite how good it looked for so very long. But on the day, they walk away with that loss, but at the same time, they're still higher ranked than KT Rolster.
That's how wins and losses go, you know? Afreeca Freecs can walk away with the win and laugh at KT fans. And that's really what Champions is about. If you think about it, at the end of the day, SKT always wins, and at least 80% of the fans are laughing at KT.
For time immortal, that's just how things are going to be, I suppose.
Sadly, that is just the way it is.
All right, well, Afreeca Freecs, first game out, put that win on the board. Still, probably going to have to tighten up that performance. Like you said, very long VOD review session before they're set against KT Rolls.
Mowgli looks like 8 in the booth there.
He looks younger than Malrong.
He really does. How's that even possible?
I don't know.
That's illegal. I'm going to tell Riot.
He's actually like 15.
You can only be like 3 months younger than Malrong, otherwise you just can't be playing on the stage.
Yeah. They doctored his papers.
And Malrong looks pretty sad. Remember, he could have played Lee Sin in the final game. It was left available, but chose the Olaf that certainly wasn't one of the big downfalls of the team, but couldn't really have the playmaking that he did in Game 1, where he was right up there with Septed. And specifically that duo was on the same page as Kramer. Pumped out the damage this game, that's for sure.
Yeah. Just quite a bit of it, so much that it goes off the screen.
That's true. He did 3,013 damage, lol.
3,113 damage.
What on Ashe? Huh.
Absolutely terrible.
Cacao-esque.
Yeah, I mean, even the Thresh did more than him.
Embarrassing. You can only judge people by what it says on the screen, okay?
Yeah. Well, yet again, almost 1,000 DPM for one of these players here, and Kramer will be able to walk away with the MVP, tying up everybody. That 76% kill contribution, 8-1-5 at the end of that game. So really good performance from him.
And the arrows, you know, the arrows is something you have to call out, because honestly, Ashe arrow accuracy is basically all of the champion's power. You can only really separate Ashe players on how they use the ultimate. And in this game, multiple picks, you know, some of them easier than others, but a lot of them using terrain smartly. And the one onto Septed when his cleanse was down probably sealed the game. We're going to see it here. This is how you use Ashe in competitive play, ladies and gentlemen. Out of vision, knew that there was no wards put there, as Ever8 had been played much more defensively, and then you just have crazy amounts of damage, free auto, and no one was going to be shutting down this Ashe.
Yeah.
For some reason, we're watching the top side of this replay when the Ashe is at the bottom. This game is being decided on the minimap. Look at Ashe on the minimap doing such good stuff.
They just wanted to throw something out there for Ever8 to feel good about. So they're like, here you go, here's those 2 kills you got, and then there you go, back to getting dumpstered by Kramer.
Yeah, Kramer's doing crazy damage. When you have Blade the Ruin King double Zeal item, when the enemy Caitlyn has Berserker Greaves, Hurricane, a BF Sword, and a QSS, you win that game 9 times out of 10, and so Afreeca did.
Yep. they destroyed. But still, again, even though KT had that rather abysmal performance against Longzhu just yesterday, there's still going to be a lot of prep to be done here by Afreeca when they get ready to go into that set on Saturday.
I mean, I feel like I have no information on who will win. Like, you kind of want to give Afreeca the benefit of the doubt, but did you see this series? They don't deserve much of the benefit of the doubt, but
yeah.
KT look pretty woeful themselves.
Does Kramer play like that? Then yeah, maybe they win.
I mean, you can make very simple statements like KT's on a 5-game losing streak because they lost 3-0 to SKT. Stats can be woven in different ways, Williams.
Yeah.
Panic stations for KT.
They've been at a 0-5 deficit for months now.
It's true. I haven't won a game in months.
I don't know about this KT roster team, guys. But there we go. Kramer picking up the MVP alongside Marin out of the top lane. So let's go ahead, hand it over for the interview, and Joel will be taking over the translation as always.
Thank you very much, guys. We're here with Afreeca Freecs, who did have a tough showing against the newly promoted team Ever8 winners, but we do see them pick up a win. Aside from the heart, we do see them get a 2-1 victory against Ever8 winners, and we're here with today's MVPs, Marin and Kramer, for the interview.
오늘 첫 경기는 LCK 첫 데뷔전을 치른 Ever8과 아프리카의 경기가 있었습니다. 그 결과
So the first match of the OGN presentation of the LCK does result in a 2-1 victory for Afreeca Freecs, and we are here once again with the MVPs today, Marin and Kramer, and we'll have an interview with these guys.
축하 말씀드리겠습니다.
Congratulations, guys. How do you guys feel?
네, 축하드립니다. 네, 오늘 경기가 굉장히 쉽지 않았어요.
Because we know that today's game obviously didn't look tough, very easy for you guys. But how did it go? On the positive side, we did get the win, and I did get the MVP, and so that's something positive to look at. But aside from that, we can't just be all happy about this because we do have a lot of work to do, resulting from this win.
크레머 선수에게 좀 질문을 드리겠는데 실제로 스크림을 굉장히 열심히 했다.
Kramer, I would like to ask that the Afreeca Freecs organization has rumored that you guys have been practicing much harder these days and have been doing more scrims, but what was the result of that? Yeah, I think trying to do a lot of different things during scrims and try to be more experimental.
그런 건 아니었고, 굉장히 좀 민망해지네요.
그렇죠. 그러면 이제 게임 얘기를 좀 해보자면 1세트
And next game we want to talk about the game itself, but in the game one, it wasn't really a game for you guys. And it seemed like Ever8 winners showed that explosive and aggressive playstyle that we kind of expected, but it didn't expect to this degree. What do you think about that?
계속 주력 픽으로 이제 되고 있었는데 그때에 비해서 이제 너프된 게 이 스킬.
Yeah, I think the Fiora is supposed to be one of the primary picks in this time of the current meta, but with the recent nerf to the E, that kind of hurt it a little bit, so I didn't get as dominant performance as I could have been.
굉장히 안 좋았고 상대적으로 에버에잇의 어떤 미드라든 정글의 활약이
And it seemed like Afreeca was on the quiet side for most of the game one, and Ever8 winners, especially on the mid and jungle, have dominated you guys. What do you guys think about that?
1세트 때 이제 고전한 픽에 대해서 이제 이런 게 좀 까다로우니까 없이 게임하자.
We thought about what the Ever8 winners brought to the table with their picks in game one, and we tried to counter it as best as possible, but I think we didn't have the best possible answers to those in that particular set.
선수들 표정이 비춰졌을 때도 확실히 좀 그렇게 엄청 심각해 보이진 않았거든요.
But it seemed like, even after that loss after game one, we saw your expressions, and it wasn't as severe as we, thought it could have been. But what was your feeling after the game?
1세트 같은 경우는 저희가 신드라한테 킬을 너무 많이 줘서 그냥
Yeah, I think first game was really about the Syndra trying to, counter for it, but, it had so many kills in the early game that we just didn't have much room to, fight back after that.
그래서 저희가 또 2세트 마린 선수의 럼블 또 솔킬 장면들을 영상으로 준비했고.
And second game we had to talk about Marin's Rumble, and we do have a highlight prepared, and we saw the multiple instances of this where he did get solo kills off of Helper. And Helper's one of those players that is famous for his Rumble plays, but it seemed like he was very undecisive of what he was supposed to do against your Rumble.
근데 일단 헬퍼 선수가 럼블을 좋아해서 그런지.
Yeah, it seemed like, Helper does liken the Rumble very much. I think that's why he went a little bit more aggressive than if he didn't know the Rumble at all. I think I think he was just trying to live on the edge and just kind of play on the edge. I think that's what costed him multiple times, and those close inches really cost him a lot.
그리고 연달아 그럼 이어지는 얘기가 2세트에서 사실 게임이 좀 무리했는데
And what we want to follow is that game 2, it was very much of an advantage for you guys throughout the game, but throughout the the late mid game to the late game, it seemed like Ever8 winners through those Baron steals. It seemed like you guys were gonna lose the game. What was the thought between that?
자기가 이제 스마 싸움이 안 된다고 이제
Spirit did warn us before in those Baron fights that we were not gonna go for the 50-50 smites, and he did warn us, but the rest of the teammates, we just kind of went in aggressively and kind of paid the cost for that.
훨씬 더 뭐 수월했겠습니다. 또 강타 싸움이라는 것이 또 워낙 걸리지 않는 거잖아요.
쪽이 유리하니까.
네. 그리고 나서 이제 마지막 3세트를
And next we want to talk about the game 3. And it seemed like Kramer just popped off just as soon as the game started. You got that early kill and continuing on from that.
좀 쉽게 할 수 있다고 저는 생각을 했는데
I thought we were wanting to take it slow, but we got the opportunistic kill that, and after that, we just kind of racked up the kills after that, and just the games turned out to be easier after that.
일단 픽이나 조합을 보고 나서 이제
And with the picks and the bans that we decided to go with, we really looked at what Ever8 winners' style was, and we tried to see what best counters those guys.
이기고 나서 오히려 좀 마음이 편안해졌던 것 같아요.
그렇죠. 그래서 3세트에서는 또 어떻게 보면 상대 핵심 에이스라고 볼 수 있는 세티드 선수를 되게 노골적으로
In game 3, it seemed like you guys were really targeting the ace of the Ever8 winners team with Septid, and it seemed like you guys were targeting him, trying to take him down as early as possible.
일단 뭐라 해야지 위협적인 게 하나도 없었어요.
And the game was really towards the mid because the top laner and the bot duo of Ever8 winners didn't have too much pressure on us. So all we had to really think about and focus was on the mid lane and trying to get him down as fast as we could.
사실 지금 메타가 고정돼 있지 않고 뭐가 나올지 계속 연구되는
And right now, I think the current meta is really unknown to many people and really don't know what this is turning out to be. And a lot of people are experimenting with it, but what is your current thoughts on the current meta, and do you think you're adjusting very well to it?
드레이븐도 되게 좋은 딜이라고 생각을 해요.
I really think Draven is a wonderful pick to go with in the current meta.
일단 오늘은 잘 안 된 거.
But I think today was just one of those situations that didn't work out, but I think we should give it a few more chances, and hopefully we can see it shine in the LCK stage very soon.
그것이 뭐 2세트에도 뭐 제대로 먹혀 들어가면서 어쨌든 승리를 또 챙겨봤습니다. 그리고 또 지난 또 스프링에 대한 이야기를 안 할 수가 없어요. 또
And we have to talk about last spring also, because you guys are continuing on from that.
그런 성적으로 마무리했던
But you guys finished off in 5th place, and you guys probably would want more out of this season compared to the last split. But do you have anything to say to that?
일단 스프링 때는 정말 아쉽게
Yeah, spring was a very disappointing split for all of us, because I know that even the fans and us as players, we really expected more out of ourselves, and I think that placement in the spring wasn't really of a satisfaction for us. So we want to get a much higher place and reach much higher in playoffs this split.
아프리카를 응원해 주시기 위해서 현장에
And a lot of people here are cheering for the Afreeca squad. You want to say to the fans here? We always thank the fans for coming out and really cheering for us. And with the cheers that you guys give us, we just want to work that much harder and give you guys back all the results that you guys deserve.
네, 오늘
And that seems to be the end of the review. Back over to you guys.
Thank you very much, Joel. So yeah, giving the results that the fans deserve, says Kramer and Marin right there. So, looking to aim a bit higher. Gonna have to tighten things up if they want to make it back into that top 5 position. You'd have to say really rough performance from Afreeca Freecs, but also a pretty good one in games 1 and 2 from Ever8, the newcomers here in LCK.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you have to reverse those feelings, because Ever8, it was an honorable loss, but that's all. Only get a single game score, no match score, no points for going down 2-1, and Afreeca Freecs did a lot of things wrong, a lot of things. It still was very much the up and down Afreeca Freecs from spring season, but they pick up the match win and they'll have to get better to beat KT, but we got a sick matchup coming up next.
Yeah, we're not done yet. It's going to be Samsung versus SK Telecom as our second set of the day, the rematch from 2016 World Finals. So you saw Samsung dismantle SK Telecom the last time that these guys squared off, then got destroyed by KT, who then got destroyed by SK Telecom. So really, not sure what's going to happen.
Where does the destruction end?
It's just going to be a constant chain going through.
It's going to be 5 for 5 fights all over the rift. That's what we're going to see. Just double wipes everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see what happens when we come back for that one. It's going to be an action-packed set, you'd have to say. SKT coming back from their victory at MSI, going to be looking to maintain control of the LCK as well. Samsung, can they have dominance? Can they finally make it into that final? It's going to be the start of it right here.
This is the question we get to answer after the break. I'm ready to get it.
All right, so don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be back in about 15, 20 or so minutes. Let the players get set up in the booths, and then we'll have that set underway. So we'll see you in just a bit.